You walked down the halls. Konoma was a fairly big school, and you had a habit of getting lost. Tsukasa was waiting for you in the broadcast room. You stumbled in quickly once you found it, and set the wires you'd been carrying down. You'd moved to Konoma a year ago. On your first day, there was talk, mostly whispers. You didn't have friends, and so you ate alone in the girls' bathroom. You got lost, which would become an everyday issue for you, and you didn't feel like making a fool out of yourself or making enemies. So just to be safe, you went to the third floor, and though it took you some time, you finally found the girls' bathroom. You chose the fourth stall, thinking it was good to be in the middle of anything that happened. Noise rattled from the next stall over. You recalled a girl talking about something called mysteries, and there were 7 of them. You couldn't remember her word for word, but what you did remember was, calling her name, reply. You thought a bit longer, and you came up with, the person who called out for her at a price. But that didn't make any sense to you. You set your tray on the toilet paper rail and opened the stall door. Nothing was there. You thought someone might have left something and it just fell. You walked in, then bent down, and began looking for the thing that might have fallen. You hadn't noticed, but the door had come back around, and when you stood up, you hit your head hard enough to make you wobbly. You had dropped back down to your knees and forgotten what you'd come in the stall for. You gripped your head and walked out of the stall. You turned on the sink and balanced yourself for a moment. You looked up. You didn't see it at first, but upon closer inspection, there was someone behind you. You leaned in further, furrowing your brows, and gasped, "Get out of here!" you shouted, turning around to the perv of a boy. Only when you turned around did the boy disappear. You lowered your arm in confusion and stared blankly at the third stall. What? Your voice was too low to even be a whisper. Where did you go? You called again, scrunching up your eyebrows. Then, suddenly, out of the toilet popped a head. "You can see me?" he asked. Your eyes popped open. "What in the—" "Which is why I asked if you could see me." The boy floated up and toward you. He had a kind smile on, but his eyes were asking questions. "How are you?" "Hi, I'm toilet-bound Hanako-kun." "What in the actual world?" "Ellen, nice to meet you, I guess." He floated down and became eye level with you. "Are you a ghost? Seems fairly obvious, for it not?" Though his words sounded harsh, you could see his face. He smiled lightheartedly and took a step forward. "What I wonder is why you can actually see me. You didn't call my name." Hanako floated around you for a bit, inspecting you. You blushed, added, but guessed it necessary. You hit your head. He motioned toward the swelling bruise on the side of your forehead. You touched where the bruise was and nodded. "That must be it then." Hanako nodded in agreement, then floated in circles. "Do me a favor, and don't go to the broadcast room," he had said. "Why?" you asked condescendingly. Hanako sighed and stuck his hands in his pockets. Not once did he stop moving, though. "You can, but he'll stick to you like glue." You tilted your head. "Who?" He stopped circling the ceiling and floated right up to your face. "You don't want to know." Then he vanished, the same time the bell rang and a few girls walked in. You found yourself realizing that you still had your plate in the fourth stall, and knowing what a pain it would be to get it out without getting made fun of, you left. Hanako had said not to go to the broadcasting room, but you didn't know why. All he gave you was some shitty riddle. You couldn't stop thinking about it for the rest of that day, and the weeks that passed on. On your first day, you hit your head where a ghost had died, and now you can see that ghost, and all the others. It never occurred to you just how many ghosts roamed your school. Come to find out, that was what the girl had been talking about that other day. You wondered if they talked that loud every time a new student arrived. It certainly would explain why after the first week, no one said anything about Hanako, which you've come to realize has his gender swapped. You would correct them, but that would be insensitive and they might still loathe you for it, so you kept quiet. The days leading up to your encounter with Tsukasa were not as epic as you'd have thought. They were simple, plain, which stood out against you finally finding out what, or who was in the broadcast room Hanako had warned you about. The day ended. You went to say goodbye to Hanako, as you did every day, even if it meant walking up all those damn stairs twice a day. Then you walked to the broadcast room. Hesitant before pushing the doors open, you pivoted on your heel. However, a ghost boy popped out. Just his head, but it reminded you of how Hanako did the same thing with his toilet. The ghost boy, Hanako, you realized, ignored you. He looked past as if waiting for someone to come. "Hanako?" you asked, looking directly at the boy. "Is this why you didn't want me to come?" The boy looked up at you. His eyes widened. "You can see me?" You smiled, feeling a little proud you could surprise ghosts by just saying you could see them. "Yeah, who else would I be talking to?" You looked around for good measure. The ghost floated out. "How?" He gazed at you with amber eyes. That said he was both intrigued and happy. "Hanako, stop playing." You smiled. The boy's expression dimmed a little. "I'm not Hanako," he said. You'd tipped, laughing. You blinked a couple of times and asked, "Huh?" The boy grinned and floated around you in a way that Hanako would, hands in his pockets, floating as if he was leaning on a wall, about to fall asleep. "Yeah, no, I'm not him. Sorry to disappoint." "No, I didn't mean I mean, you just look." "Amane is my brother. Twin, if you couldn't guess already." He floated right up to your face, legs in the air with a grin and narrowed eyes. "And what was it you said about Amane not wanting you to come here?" You gulped back your words, though swallowing them then would have been useless. "I should go." You nodded and started walking away. "Want to know my name?" he asked, floating beside you. "No, thank you," you said, ignoring him. Tsukasa's eyes brightened with mischief at that moment. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I am." "Then, can I know your name?" "No." "Why not?" He pouted, and damn it, it was adorable. "Because I said so." "Fine." He pouted more, if that was even possible. Then his expression lit up as he waved. "See you tomorrow, friend." You should have listened to Hanako, because he was right. This ghost would not leave you alone. He followed you throughout the day and made you laugh almost every time he felt necessary. You'd gotten into trouble because of him on multiple occasions, who made hating him harder because the teachers would be fuming smoke at how disrespectful you were being. Then, Tsukasa would pop out of nowhere and do the dumbest thing he could think of. A year passed, and you warmed up to Tsukasa, Mᴜsɪᴄ, Nanamine, and Hyuga. In due time, Tsukasa was able to get you to join the broadcast club. It took a lot of encouragement, but he felt proud he was able to get such a stubborn person to join. You'd come in handy, and you were pretty cute. Tsukasa had asked you to bring him new wires an hour ago, but you'd gotten lost. The only time you didn't get lost was when you were with Tsukasa, which you guessed said something about him. You didn't want to admit you had a crush on a ghost, especially Tsukasa. You were sure there were plenty of nice, cute, and better options. It would just boost his ego if he heard about it, but over the year he spent annoying you and making you laugh. You grew attached to him in ways you would have never thought you'd be attracted to him for. He had the face of Hanako, but the attitude of a tsundere. It got to a point where your nickname for him, between you and Hanako, was Tsukasa. You'd never call him that to his face, but you've thought about his reaction many times, and each was better than the last. "Sorry I'm late," you breathed out. Tsukasa ticked his tongue. "Guess some things just never change." You sent him your meanest glare. Good riddance. "Come on, you love me," he cooed, floating over to you. You never lied, and you wouldn't break that record even if it meant outing yourself, so you stayed quiet. "Why in?" Mᴜsɪᴄ asked. You crossed your arms and stomped out of the room. I'm hungry. But the school's cafeteria shut down 30 minutes ago, Hyuga shouted with alarmed eyes. I'm going to the vending machine, you huffed. When you were gone, Nanami and Sakura looked toward Tsukasa and stated plainly, You can't just say that, Tsukasa. He frowned. I was only joking. I don't see why it's a problem. Mitsuba shook her head. Ellen, she bit her tongue, not knowing if it was her place to say anything. She's just really sensitive about things like that. Tsukasa nodded, then looked toward the door. I didn't know. Boys never do. Nagamine shook her head. Not you too, Tsukasa whined, clutching her arm. I'm not your mom. Stop that. She glared. You walked back in, calmer than you had left, and it was clearly because your favorite chips had been left in the vending machine when it was usually out. It was a very popular chip. You didn't say anything, completely ignoring Tsukasa hovering above you. He switched to the side of you, then the other, when he understood you were doing it intentionally. Hey, YN. You huffed. What? You turned to your right, where he leaned on one of his arms, his fist pressed to his cheek. Tsukasa smiled, his legs floating slightly downward. You're cute when you're bothered. Is that why you do it? You spat, although Tsukasa did not look fazed at all. Yes. That's it. You stood. I'm gonna kill you, you said, lunging at him. I'm already dead. He floated upward. You can't kill me. You gritted your teeth. I can sure as hell try. He laughed at your attempts, finding every single expression cute. What's wrong, Lion? Why, you little... You narrowed your eyes to the point where you could barely see. When a teacher walked in, Is everything okay in here? He asked, looking around. You nodded, smiling as if you had not just waged war on a 50-year-old ghost stuck in his 13-year-old body. Alright, just making sure. He stepped out and walked away. You closed your eyes, and when you opened them, began chasing Tsukasa again. You knew it was useless. You'd never catch him. You cheater. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean it's cheating, he hummed, looking at the wall in front of him. Besides, I don't recall us ever stating this was a game. Knowing he had you, he looked down, catching your gaze, and said, Or that we had to follow any rules. You stood straight and sagged in a corner. Fine. He floated over to you. For playing, I'll give you a prize. He stroked your cheek, and you could almost feel it. Then he kissed it. His lips sent a shockwave through your body, as if he was still alive somehow. Your eyes widened at Tsukasa, and it seemed like he felt the shock as well, all eyes wide and clueless. He turned to you as if trying to ask if you did that. Hyuga coughed. You turned with embarrassment, and Tsukasa turned with a smirk. Okay, let's get to work. YN. Hanako floated around you as you perched on his toilet, eating your bento. Yes, you said after gulping down an octopus dog. Has Tsukasa done anything out of the ordinary this past week? You thought about it. About the kiss yesterday. About his non-stop teasing. You blushed. Well, he kissed my cheek the other day. Hanako stopped floating in a circle. He approached the stall calmly. You looked up. Is that weird? You blushed. I see, was all he said. Then the bell rang. You should get to class. Sighing, you stood, dusting yourself off in the process. You're right. I'll see you later. Maybe it's not a good idea for you to stay after school today. You gave the ghost boy a side-eye glance, throwing your empty bottle of water in the trash. Why would that be? You must be tired, right? He tried to play it off, tried to make it seem like your idea. I guess. Although you knew you didn't plan to follow through, you had to see Tsukasa. He had been acting weird, and this just confirmed it. Is today special? You asked. Hanako looked away. He then floated under the floor. Oh, no, you don't. You stomped toward Hanako, and though you wouldn't be able to grab him, you tried to make your presence as menacing as possible. Look, if anyone knows Tsukasa, it's me. It's not my place to say anyway. I just don't think you should go to the broadcast club today. You looked away, knowing you were going to go against Hanako's warning again. This time he seemed more persistent, though, as if today meant more than anything. Is today the day he... Hanako popped his head out from under the floor. No, it's not that. He grimaced. You should ask him if you really want to know, but I warned you. Yeah, I got that much. Hanako watched you walk out of the bathroom. He followed you to class and then left. I'm here, you announced as you stepped into the broadcasting room. Everyone avoided eye contact when you stepped in. You smiled nervously. Is everything okay? You look like you've all just seen a ghost. No one laughed at your pun. It seemed more dead than Tsukasa, who you now noticed was not in the room. Where's Tsukasa? Again, no one said anything, and after a while, you got a little irritated. Okay, this is getting annoying now. Where is he, and why is every ghost acting as if they died again? Just tell her. Mitsuba yelled in a whisper. You could clearly see Hyuga's eye. He'll be on the roof. He always goes there. You nodded and headed out. They didn't say anything as you left, didn't try to stop you, which for some reason felt weird. Tsukasa, you called, cupping your palms around your mouth. You did that a few more times before stumbling upon Tsukasa leaning against a wall that curved to the front so the back of the person who was in front of it was hidden. You approached the Hanako look-alike and bent down, hands closed on each other behind your back. Boo. Tsukasa didn't move. He would have normally laughed or teased you about your bad joke, but today he didn't even flinch. Hey, Earth Tsubaka. You poked his arm, settling yourself to his side. Not today, YN. He whispered. What's wrong with you all today? You look dead. No pun intended. You stood and approached the end of the rooftop. There was a fence in place, so you could not skydive to your death, but just then you had an idea. Tsukasa only looked up when he heard the crinkle of the fence. He didn't look up much, but he did ever so lightly. What he saw broke his heart. Get down, Wayne, what are you doing? You continued climbing, then carefully swung your foot over the other side of the fence and turned your body so that you were at the top of the fence, holding on by your hooked feet and hands. One wrong move, you thought, and I'm screwed. Tsukasa couldn't fly farther than the fence, so he went as far as he could and began yelling at you to get down. Don't be an idiot, Wayne. Come back over. The wind whirled around your hair. You felt powerful. Tell me what's bothering you. Are you crazy? Just get down. This is not a choice. He banged on the gate, though if someone were to come out, they would have only seen a girl dangling from the devil's grasp. It seemed you were content on dancing on death's blade. If I come back over, you have to tell me what's wrong. Fine, just come back over. You did as he said. Once you were back on the ground, he snatched you up in a hug. The adrenaline rush from being up in the air was slowly fading, and you could find your senses again. So, what's wrong? Tsukasa sat you down. He asked if you were all right, and once he determined you were, he began explaining what had happened today, 51 years ago. How he'd loved someone, a girl, how he'd lost her to this very rooftop, how she was the reason the school decided to have the fence implanted for student safety, how the school played off her death as an accident. It was murder. He gritted. She was pushed. Is that why you hate today? You asked, half expecting him to bite you for it. He looked up, his gaze softening when meeting your eyes. I don't hate today, he said. I was only remembering her. He gripped something in his hand, and that's when he realized it was an old photograph. I'm sorry. He floated closer to you. For what? I had no idea. I climbed up there without thinking. Does this mean you think I love you? He grinned. Oh great, he's back. I hear sarcasm, but I can live with that. He smiled, contently, causing you to burst with laughter. His mouth curved into a half smile. My puns are always better. You felt a hand on your cheek. You looked up and Tsukasa was smiling. Not the one he gives Hanako, not the way he grins when teasing you, but the way he looked in the photo he had been clutching, the way he looked alive at the girl he'd spoke about, the one who looked exactly identical to you. You didn't know if it was because he was a ghost, or because his kiss felt as real as you. A shockwave went through you, almost as if a firework went off when his phantom lips met yours.